Welcome back to KETV News Watch 7 Chronicle. We're talking juvenile violence this morning, and here with Police Chief Todd Schmatter, Superintendent Cheryl Logan, and Empowerment Network founder Willie Barney. We want to talk solutions. Mr. Barney, I want to start with you. Are you getting enough buy-in from the community to help you come up with your solutions?
Yeah, you know, the reason we had success and continue to have success in certain areas is the buy-in from the community, but we can always use more. I said before that when we were intentional and aligned efforts, we saw a 74% reduction in gun violence. We were able to cut unemployment with teens by 50%, but that's alignment, that's collaboration, that's community working together, churches, neighborhoods. We need more people. When we've seen issues like this before in 2006, 7, and 8, it was the churches, the neighborhood groups, the mentors, the after-school programs, rallying around with the police department and with the school district, and we just need more people getting engaged with that.
And Dr. Logan, can you give me some of the positives that y'all have that maybe some of the other districts may look to you for leadership?
You know, we have, first of all, we have over 50 social workers in our schools that are licensed clinical social workers that provide support to our young people. That is tremendous. I think we have more probably than any agency in the state. And we also recently added an individual who helps our students who are transitioning back. So students sometimes do get expelled, but they come back because they're not expelled forever. And to make sure that that transition goes well, to work with the family so that the expectations, because it's one thing to think, oh, well, the kid's going to be really excited to come back and all of that. But the child has had a traumatic event. They've been out of school. And so that is something else that we think is going to really help. And it came about from me witnessing a conversation between two principals as they were talking about a kid transitioning from one to the other. And I remember I looked at it and went, if there isn't some sort of intervention, there's no way for that child to be successful. And so that's how literally we ended up adding that position. So there are many things that are going well. And I always like to say that the overwhelming majority of our kids do everything we ask them to do every day. And again, support us with safety because, children want to be safe. They want school to be a place of refuge. Many kids have their meals there. And so I always like to not paint it as gloom and doom because it really is not. These are, and although we do have to spend a lot of time on this, and we are at a crisis point, which is why the three of us are gathered here today, we do see many instances where many things are going very well, but we cannot ignore this problem at this point.
Right, and I think what's in schools is, again, that microcosm. The other way, the macrocosm of it is in society. And Chief, what do you see the solution as? I mean, you have to deal with the entire citizenry.
Yeah, to some degree, we expected a bit of a spike in juvenile crime as we came out of a pandemic and we knew services were deprived during that period of time. We felt the greatest impact would be to juveniles, and we're seeing that. But we're not going to allow that to be the new normal in Omaha. So what we're doing to try to address that is really from a prevention standpoint, an enforcement standpoint, and we have a legislative standpoint that we're taking. For the prevention piece, we have a juvenile co-responder now hired within the Omaha Police Department that responds to us in the field to juveniles that may be suffering from a mental health issue. And they will stay with that child as a case and follow and help that child and that family maneuver through that. So we're looking to add to that piece, looking to add to our gang liaisons. Of course, there has to be an enforcement piece. When there is a shooting, you need law enforcement to make an arrest. And then for the legislative piece, we want to streamline some things to make it a little easier for us to interface with juvenile probation and get access to some GPS data and aftermath of violent crimes so that we can intervene as quickly as possible, try to prevent retaliation, try to make an arrest, and prevent that next shooting. And so we're attacking it from those three angles. And then the fourth angle, and this is probably the biggest, and this is why I think Omaha solves problems, is we do got good community involvement. We have a lot of entities that are working to address the juveniles in need and do wraparound services with them. That is huge. Right. And we're just asking everybody just to kick up their game just a little bit. Let's get this back to what we feel is acceptable levels.
And you mentioned that community involvement. I mean, and Willie, that's where you are. I mean, you have the Empowerment Network. You've got Omaha 360. You meet every week about this. What do you see the answer is? And I preface that with, there's that old saying, and it's either African American or Native American. It's like, it takes a village to raise a child.
Absolutely.
What happens if the village doesn't care?
Yeah, and I believe the village does care.
Okay.
You know, what overwhelmingly does care, as Dr. Logan said, just putting it into context, we have a lot more kids, a lot more families doing the right thing, going to work, trying to take care of the community. And it's really elevating that and now taking it to another scale. We have to scale everything up, as Chief said. And so we've seen increases in job opportunities. We've seen increases in intervention services. We have other groups, U-Turn and others that are out doing the street. We have neighborhoods, we have churches, and now it's, again, alignment. It's really working together at a whole different level to really address it intentionally head on and saying it's unacceptable. What we're seeing right now is unacceptable, but we're not going to be defeated. We're going to be encouraged. We're going to come back together and push. And that's what we do every single week with Omaha 360. We're encouraging the community now to take it to another level.
But how do you get them off their sofas and out from in front of the televisions, where we like that they watch television, of course, but, but how do you get them to actually take action and to kick it up a notch?
I think you show them that, as Dr. Logan said, it's not all doom and gloom. We can show them that when we came together before and we created job opportunities, we were able to 7,000 plus folks that have been connected with employment opportunities. Look at them now in college. Look at them now middle banking and all types of other occupations around the city, starting businesses. So we know that we can do that. When we saw this severe crisis back in 2006, 7, and 8, we talked to the young people. We just had a meeting, Dr. Logan and others, 200 plus young people. We asked them, what's going on? What are you facing? And they talked about anxiety. They talked about isolation and the things like Chief talked about with the pandemic, where they were isolated, loss of focus. So now that the youth are telling us that these are the things that we're dealing with, now those partners, those therapists, those counselors, those teachers, community groups coming together on a holistic, taking it to scale and really addressing those needs that the youth are identifying for us.
Let me ask this and put this to all three of you. What is the parents' role in all this? Dr. Logan, you go first.
Well, we count on our parents. We don't count on them to teach polynomials, but we do count on them to teach right from wrong.
Right.
And we do count on them to understand that kids need to respect authority and that there's a time and a place for everything. Right. And I think that's what we need from our parents and caregivers, right? We have lots of kids who live with caregivers that are not necessarily their parent, right?
Sure.
And so helping children to also know that there are other people that they can go to that are also supporting them, whether it's their teachers, their folks at church, whoever that person is who is a trusted adult that they can go to, especially if they're experiencing something that is really difficult or they need some sort of support. I think that that's something, and I would say that, recently we had a special night for North Omaha parents at McMillan Middle School and caregivers to talk to them about the academies and pathways. This is for middle schoolers, right? And we had, we had so many community folks who came out. These were all businesses that really wanted to connect with our young people. And I remember sharing with Willie that evening how encouraged I was. And we didn't have as many parents, and it was like really cold that night too. So there was that. But that, that showed us another data point to say our community really, they want to connect. They're kind of, I think, almost like desperate to connect. I think people see the problem. I think, as Chief, said, Omaha does do a very good job at identifying issues and really rallying around its young people. And I do see that coming up, and that's where we are right now.
All right, we're going to take another quick break, and our conversation will continue as we look at solutions for youth violence in the community. What do you think the solution is? Email us. The address is news@ketv.com. Love hearing from you, and we'll be right back.